as something to kind of get people excited about the project, capture this beautiful area in fall, and get a bit more social media connection going on with the greater community, because it's so hard to meet in person these days. So I'm really excited to start kind of testing that out with our township sharp lake.
Great. Okay, if there aren't any other questions or comments, I need a vote on this motion. All those in favor of receiving the report? It's carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Victor Hayes and seconded by Elwyn Burke. Whereas bylaw 2015-35 currently allows certain off-road vehicles on municipal roads, and whereas provincial legislation was amended July 1st, 2020 to expand the scope of vehicles that may be allowed on highways to include extreme terrain vehicles and off-road motorcycles, provided the municipality specifically recognizes these vehicles in its bylaw. Now, therefore, be it resolved that council consider the draft revised bylaw to include extreme terrain vehicles and off-road motorcycles with certain restrictions. And whereas council consider and to staff as to whether to regulate off-road vehicles use for other municipal property, and to develop an education webpage for easy reference to the regulations. Discussion on the motion?
Madam Mayor, it's Victor.
Yes.
Yes, this actually, there was a question that I had last meeting about our authority, our jurisdiction over the trails. And I don't have a clear answer on that yet. We have the actual authority to make this sort of a bylaw, or does it fall to EOTA to do that?
Kathy or Cindy, do you want to answer that?
I think I can answer that, Madam Mayor, through you. This specific bylaw does only apply to highways. So
right.
We definitely have the authority to regulate what we want to see on our municipal roadways. The proposal of what we're looking at as a secondary matter down the road would be on other non-highways. And we do have jurisdiction, I believe, depending on where those are going to go. However, it will depend on what trail we're talking about. If we're dealing with unopened road allowances, that's certainly within our jurisdiction to be able to regulate.
Okay, thank you. And a secondary question, Madam Mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
Does this bylaw only refer to, like it says highways, does that mean developed roads, or does that also include unopened road allowances? Because I have a real concern about allowing vehicles on unopened road allowances.
I don't believe it has anything to, not dealing with road allowances. It's basically public highways. Same of all of our, our secondary roads are still considered highways. So, but Cindy can do that further.
The definition in the bylaw refers to the definition of highways in the Highway Traffic Act. So it's not the same definition as in the Municipal Act, which would include unopened road allowances. So this specific one is dealing with municipal roads.
Okay, good. Thank you. That calms my concern.
However, right now we don't have anything that prevents or regulates anything on non-roads within the municipality. So any municipal public property right now, we don't have any restrictions in place to deal with what can be done or what cannot be done on unopened road allowances. And that's one of the things I think we should look at in the future to protect our liability issues.
Right, and that's in the report. It's like in the future, we're going to be looking at how are we going to manage our unopened road allowances, and I support looking into that in the future. Thank you.
Okay. Tom, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I did. Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I support the amendment to the municipality's off-road vehicle bylaw here, but I would recommend that we get some public input with regards to township right-of-ways, road allowances and public spaces such as parks, because the county of Peterborough went through a or is now presently in the process of going through a transportation master plan, and they've asked for some public input with respect to off-road vehicles. So I think it's something that we may want to get some public input on. I think that that also there was an item in there with regards to snow vehicles. I believe that we should add snow machines in there. Cindy, I may have sent you a note on that.
Yeah.
But I think in there we need to add snow vehicles, not make them exempt. And I think under that proposed bylaw that we got, that was one of the items that was going to be left out. But I think they have to be in the off-road vehicle. The other thing I got to, can I comment a bit more on something here? I think we need to look at the speed limits, because my understanding, if we have a speed limit on our township road, say for argument's sake, 50 kilometers an hour, I think for off-road vehicles, that could be half the speed limit. In other words, 25 kilometers per hour in a 50 zone. So I think we need to take a look at that, because I don't agree with the same thing with it. Something's wrong. Got static here, but anyway, I think the same thing is with 80. An 80, we should drop it down to 50. I think 80 is far too fast for a township road.
Cindy, are you moving papers around? They're really loud.
I don't know. Yeah, I can't hear. Anyway, I may have something else here on it, but go ahead.
Let's answer the first one, which was about snowmobiles.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I think the question Councillor Dewey raised about snow vehicles was in the noise bylaw, not in this one. This one is just dealing with ATVs and off-road vehicles. So that's a separate bylaw that we'll be talking about later on. And I was just, sorry for the rustling of papers, that was me. I was just trying to see, because I thought that there was part in the bylaw that did speak to the speed limit reduction. So
is it not under the Highway Traffic Act?
So yes, because this is coming from the Ministry of Transportation, and the bylaw that's in here, the draft bylaw, came from them directly. So yes, I think a lot of the speed limits are under the Highway Traffic Act.
Yeah,
and
so there's
OPP.
So 20 kilometers an hour limit, 50 kilometers per hour. So there are speed limits listed in the bylaw.
Okay, Cindy?
So normally, whatever the speed limit is, a four-wheeler and ATV is 50 kilometers below that. That's the legal jingle of it all.
Did you say they can go to the maximum of the speed limit?
No, what it is if it's 80, then you have to drive, if you have an ATV, 30 kilometers less than that. That's the legal way of doing it.
Is that in the Highway Traffic Act?
Yes.
Okay. So Tom, does that answer your question about speed? It's already been established.
Yes, it did, but I wasn't aware of the fact that it was in the Highway Traffic Act. I should have looked that up. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the next question was?
He asked about having public input.
Right.
Yeah, I think I think if we, for public spaces, and I think with regards to road allowances, parks and all that stuff, I think it'd be a good idea to get some public input as to whether, what the public feels about expanding this to other areas other than roads.
Okay. And that certainly can come down the road. Brent?
I would agree with Tom, in particular, talking to the people that administer the trails. Have you got me now? Can you hear me?
Oh. Cindy, can you hear Brent?
Yes, I can.
I
can hear him.
I can.
I can.
Okay. I'll try to hopefully I come through.
Sorry, Brent, I can't hear you.
Okay. I'll let me unmute and mute again. Can you hear me now?
I can just right now. Go ahead.
I'll be really quick. I think it's a good idea to coordinate with the trails, the county, the OTA, because we know that when people motorized vehicles on the trails, they go back and forth between our road network and the trails. People are going to access it by, they'll drive down 38 or any trails. So having a standardized approach, regardless of where they are, is I think it's the right way to go. And I think that at this point in time, it's hard to say anything before you have a conversation with them, but we definitely do. I think we need to have a standardized approach, whether they're on the K&P or on 38 or anywhere else.
Okay, and again, public meetings will be a while before that can actually be had, so it's definitely on the books for later. Bill McDonald, you have your hand up?
Yes, I did. I just want staff to keep in mind, and I think everybody should, is when we're talking about extreme off-road vehicles, these machines are pretty well getting to the size of a small automobile. And when I see them going by my house here, they're side-by-sides. They're as big as a small car or a small truck. So what we're looking at here is we're looking at regulating them on our municipal roads, and yet we're looking. These things are so big that we're looking at the possibility of not allowing 4x4s, for example, on our trails, but these vehicles are almost as big as a 4x4. You take a Ford Ranger half-ton, those extreme off-road vehicles are about the same size as they are. So we have to keep that in mind, that first of all, snowmobiles are off-road vehicles also, and we're allowing those on our municipal roads. But what we have to keep in mind is who's going to enforce all of this? So when we're putting together the bylaw or whatever we want to regulate, we still have to have the ability to enforce all of the rules that we're laying out in the bylaw. So I have no problem with allowing them on the roads, but we have to keep in mind that there's a cost to enforcing them also. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. And this bylaw is asked for because of a change in legislation and because we have an existing bylaw, just to add these two. So it's
Right.
Nothing new, it's just adding the new uses.
Right.
That's correct.
Okay.
And the Ontario Provincial Police will enforce will enforce this under the Highway Traffic Act. And
Okay. All right. Good discussion. If there's no other comments, all those in favor, please hold up your hands. Motion's carried. Elwin, how about you?
Yes.
Okay, motion's carried. I forget about the people on the phone. All right. Next, we have a motion moved by Nikki Gowdy, seconded by Brent Cameron, that council receive the CFFR activity report as prepared by the acting manager of emergency services / fire chief for information. Any questions or comments on Jamie's report?
Madam Mayor,
Oh, yes.
I'd just like to point out one correction in the report under August 2020 medical for Station 4 Parham. It should be 2, not 12. I think when I merged, I got asked to join to bring the last year summary in with 2020 for the comparison for council. And when I did that, I hit 12 instead of just 2. I think it's my fat thumb. So.
Okay.
And I missed it, so I apologize.
Okay, Bill?
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. Jamie, I was looking at all the numbers, and a great number of our calls are medical. I'm wondering how we compare on those medical calls to other fire stations throughout the province of Ontario.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor McDonald. That's something that, Bill, I'll have to look deeper into to just see the comparisons. I haven't dug too deep into what the other areas around us as far as their calls are in comparison, but in most rural areas like ourselves, our breakdown of calls is high in medical, just because of the response times. So.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Any other, Brent?
Just a quick question, Jamie, not really pertaining to the report, but in light of the fact that, we've gone about 190 days into COVID, I'm sure that there's been some operational adjustments that you've had to make, both for the safety of your people as well as those they serve. I just wondered if you wanted to share some thoughts with regard to the adjustments of services that you may have had to do with regard to COVID.
Yep, through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Cameron. Yep, like all workplaces, we have had to institute some changes as far as our responses and how we respond to medical calls. Our communication centers, both ambulance dispatch and Kingston Dispatch, do a wonderful job at relaying information from the calls. And they can actually pre-screen the calls to give us a heads up if it fits the mold of a COVID-related call. Allows us to be properly in proper PPE and even a little more. There are cases where if it is COVID, a COVID positive screening, we actually wear our full bunker gear in with the mask and face shields while we deal with the calls. So our training, we withheld training for the first three months. We've just started getting back to it in June, and we have safety precautions while we're at the halls and we're in our groups and wearing a mask. So it's going really well, and we're starting to get larger numbers out every week. But it's like everything, people still have that fear. So it's just, we exercise our own cautions, and everyone's comfort level, and we adjust every week to trainings with the numbers that we have there.
Okay. No other questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion? Motion's carried.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Elwin, you're in favor?
Yes.
I'm going to assume that he is. I've lost everybody's picture again.
He responded yes.
Okay, finance.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Technology is not working really well with us tonight.
I can hear you.
I will read the motion. Moved by Brent Cameron, seconded by Nikki Gowdy, that council approve the check distribution reports totaling $2,709,651.69 as prepared by the treasurer. Tom, go ahead.
I didn't say anything. Sorry.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Michael.
I
Bill
can't
here.
hear you. Can others hear you?
Can you hear me,
Yes, we
Bill?
We can hear Bill. I heard your motion there, but a lot of people are not on here.
Madam Mayor, I'm wondering if it'd be better for you to go into Kathy's office and
We'll have to just wait a few minutes and see if it comes back.
And if not, come into my office, yes.
Cindy, any advice?
I think the issue might be with your computer and maybe the number of people at the office online. So I'm wondering if it would be better for you to go into Kathy's office and close out of your computer.
Oh, I hear somebody.
Go and I'll be back.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can now. Yeah.
Okay.
Back on.
This is something. This is the worst time yet.
Yeah.
I can do that. Okay,
And I can put you at the end of my desk here.
okay. Just hang on 1 minute. I'm going to move over to Kathy's desk. Oh. Okay,
They're on this end here.
I will be right back.
Okay, I'll get mine on here. You can sit there, you can just do that, because I put the computer up so they can maybe see you too. Yeah, perfect. You need to see me as much as seeing you.
All right.
Thank you for
Okay, can you hear me? There's something.
Yes.
Good Lord gave me a loud voice. I guess this is the reason for it. Okay, moved by Brent Cameron, seconded by Nikki Gowdy. The council approved the check distribution reports totaling $2,709,651.69 as prepared by the treasurer. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Kathy has 3 screens in here. Great. Okay. We have a motion moved by Elwin Burke, seconded by Victor Hayes, that council approve the following apportionments of assessment as recommended by impact for 2020 as applicable for the following roll numbers. And it's all of those roll numbers that were in your package. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Motion carried. Elwin, I'm going to suggest that unless you say no, I'm going to assume you're saying yes.
Okay.
Okay. Motion moved by Brent Cameron, seconded by Victor Hayes, that council approve the recommendation of the treasurer to provide a $1,000 annual grant starting in 2020 fiscal year to the Central Frontenac Railway Heritage Society to cover operating costs, which includes hydro. Discussion?
Madam Mayor, it's Victor.
Go ahead, Victor.
Yeah, I just have a question. It looks like they did not want to have like a section 3 there, the liability insurance included in this. Why did they not want us to cover their insurance?
If I may, through your worship to Councillor Hayes, I believe that they wanted to maintain control of their organization and finances.
Okay, thank you.
Is Kathy speaking? Because she's muted. There, I've unmuted. Kathy, were you speaking? Still can't hear you. Kathy, we can't hear you.
I can't hear you.
Oh, maybe, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll move over a bit here. I think the thing is too, is because number 2 and 3 were in that original resolution that council would consider until we had actual costs. So now they've provided to Michael a cost of their hydro. And yes, they didn't want to be part of us in regards to the insurance. So they seem to. So when Michael and I were talking about it, it was roughly what, Michael, around the 600 a year for them for their hydro, that Michael suggested put a little extra money in to help them with the other operating costs as they see fit.
Yes. It was about 600. Insurance was about 600. And I guess I felt that it was important for them to have some of their own meat in the game, but I think they're a good organization for the community, and, you know, we'll get payback through it.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion's carried.
Thank you, Council.
Okay. Next Next, we have administration, and I have a motion moved by Tom Dewey, seconded by Cindy Kelsey, that council receive the report entitled Frontenac Service Delivery Review Project for information. Discussion?
I just want to make sure the council is aware that the meeting, yes, and as in the report, it will be October 14th, where Strategy Corps will be making a presentation to all of the Frontenac councils, and it will be done virtually. I think maybe some members of the county council may be in the county, but just so that I want to bring it up to you now so that you have it in your calendars for the 14th at 6 p.m.
Just to confirm, Kathy, it was mentioned again just before I got onto this meeting that county council members would be at the county building. Everybody else would
Unless you choose not
be.
to. Okay, perfect.
Just remember, they're not going to be providing us with any food this time if we're virtual. Okay. Any questions or comments from anyone? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Okay, moving right along. New noise bylaw. I'm going to read this, and then our two representatives that are going to be our delegations, we're going to ask them to speak after we've read this bylaw. So I'll read it. We won't vote on it. We'll hear their presentations, and then I'll call for the vote after the discussion has taken place. Everyone's okay with that?
Yep.
Okay, I have a motion moved by Cindy Kelsey, seconded by Sherry Wan. Whereas a number of complaints have been received regarding generators running all hours of the day and night, and whereas our bylaw enforcement officer has responded to these complaints, which are still happening, and whereas bylaw 1999-53 to prohibit, regulate, and abate noises and public nuisances within the municipality is outdated, and staff are proposing a new bylaw, and a draft is attached for council's perusal. Now, therefore, it be it resolved that council review the draft noise bylaw and provide comments to staff prior to the final bylaw coming forth for passage at the next regular meeting. And I do know that some of you have sent some comments through, which is good. We need to keep doing that. Maybe at this point, I will ask Claire Scott Taggart to put her video on and make her presentation. And then Axel Braun will give his presentation after that. Claire?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. Do you want to
hear me? Okay.
Yes.
So this noise complaint is regarding the town of Arden. We have had a cottage in the town of Arden for more than 25 years. The house adjacent to ours was bought in the winter by a woman named Oksana. So she's our immediate neighbor. And one neighbor beyond her is the house where the generator noise is coming from. So the house with the generator noise is about 100 to 150 feet from our house. All our houses are on Arden Road, and our house is back onto a small creek which runs from the lake through the town of Arden. The generator noise has been running when I started my complaint, which was in May of this summer. The noise has been running for the past 2.5 years, the generator noise. And it starts at any time from 8 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock in the morning and goes through the day to between 9 and 11 at night. It is their primary source of power for their house. They have a hydro pole that's about 12 feet from the corner of their house. So it is very convenient for them to hook up to the hydro, but they're not doing that. So I was looking into the bylaws, trying to figure out how we could get this noise stopped, because it's basically like having a truck running constantly throughout the day in your you know, next to your property. And sorry, I'm getting a little bit nervous. Where am I?
Take your time and don't be nervous.
Yeah, sorry, it's a bit, I'm not used to talking in front of anybody.
Pretend we're just not there.
That's very difficult. Yeah, I should take off my glasses. Okay, so what happened was I phoned the municipality trying to figure out how to deal with this issue, and a bylaw officer was sent out. And the bylaw officer talked to them about the noise and the fact that there had been a complaint made, which was me. And our neighbor Oksana, she also wrote a formal complaint to Central Frontenac. So we both did that. And we were hoping that the noise would stop, and it didn't. We have taken this long to complain because their house is clearly under construction. And my husband and I, we both work in construction, and you know, you don't really want to complain. But after 2 full summers of listening to their generator noise, you know, it's kind of enough is enough. So they told the bylaw officer that they are actually living off grid, and that they have a solar panel and use their generator intermittently, which is, it's not the case. We went down the creek to check out their solar panel, and their panel is about 2 feet by 5 feet, which if anybody uses solar energy, that really doesn't do anything except maybe keep your hot water warm. So after the bylaw officer went out and nothing changed, we decided that we would go as neighbors and tell them, you know, what's going on with our complaint, and that I was the one who initiated the complaint. They came, we invited them to our house so they could hear what the generator sounds like from our property. And quite frankly, they were shocked by the amount of noise. They said they had no idea, and we were standing there trying to troubleshoot with them. But really, we want them to hook up to the hydro. And so essentially it came down to the fact that they have been disconnected. They've owned the house for 11 years and have moved there 3 years ago, which was when the generator noise started. And clearly something has gone wrong with hydro, and they've been disconnected. So we offered to lend them money to get hooked up, and they refused that. So since then, they have tried to box in their generator, which the only effect of that is that it changes the tone. So if you listen to, you know, people who listen to really loud music in their cars, you can't really hear the high notes, but you can hear the bass. So it's like that now, and it's constant. So my concern is that they will use that in the agenda item, there's a suggestion of putting time limits on this kind of noise. And that that really doesn't help, because they're working within time limits, but all that means is that we have to listen to their generator from morning until we go to bed. So there's absolutely no time for us to just enjoy the peace and quiet of having a place in Arden. And the other concern is that they're going to use the off-grid argument and say that that's their chosen lifestyle and they're allowed to do this. Whereas I was looking into the Government of Ontario Ministry of the Environment noise pollution regulations, and they said it's up to the bylaw to enforce noise pollution, to set up municipal bylaw rules around this. And in the Ontario Ministry of the Environment website, it says noise pollution is any form of sound that disrupts a natural ecosystem or causes a person's property to become unusable or unpleasant. And I would definitely say it's made our property incredibly unpleasant. And it's not just us. It's commonly acknowledged throughout the community that there is this noise pollution, but people really don't like to complain. And, you know, I can understand that. So anyway, I think that's really, yeah, I guess that's really my point. My point is that we don't want this noise pollution to be reduced. We want this noise pollution to be stopped. It's 3 years of constant noise pollution. And they live in a town and we are very close neighbors. So it just doesn't make any sense to me that this is a viable way of okay, is that okay? Do you have any questions?
Yep, that's fine. Any questions for Claire? Any comments? Cindy, go ahead.
Okay, so I know that it's bad that this generator is running all the time, but what about people who are building homes and so forth? If you put a bylaw in saying you can't run a generator, how do they build their house?
If my name's Axel, if I can interject there for a second. I know you haven't heard from me yet, that's fine, but I built my cottage myself. I'm on Frontenac Lake in central Frontenac, and the bylaw officer actually told us that we were only able to run our generator between 10 and 4 in the afternoon, and that was it. We abided by those rules, so that you do have some rules in place to govern the peace and privacy of people in the area, and try to keep everybody happy. So that's kind of the answer you're looking for, I hope.
Yeah, like I would understand that would be a good way of doing it, but I don't think there should be a bylaw saying that you can't have any generators.
Well, I would just like to respond to that and say that they have access to hydro, and instead of using hydro, they are using a generator. And I understand using a generator to get your house underway and to get it to a usable point. But I think that at that point, if you have access to hydro, it's incumbent on you to respect your neighbors and hook up to the grid.
I'm just saying that the bylaw should be made so that it's fair to everyone. So if you are building a home or a cottage, you can have your generator. But yes, if you have a home and you've lived in it for X amount of years, then it is your responsibility to get hydro to your home.
I'm not so sure the municipality has the authority to tell someone they cannot, that they have to use hydro, especially when we're talking about green energy. Definitely the solar system is the best way to go, but I think we have to be careful with what authority we have. So the reason for noise bylaws is try to abate as best we can so that it's not driving everyone crazy. So putting it in structures so that it's noise proof, I think is probably the extent of what we have the ability to enforce. I'm not sure about that, but I would think if there is a way to do without generators at all, I think we would be in a legal situation. Cindy, when you've researched this bylaw, what did you find? Bill, I see your hand.
Claire, can I, Your Worship, Tom?
Just a minute, Tom, we've got Bill,
I just wanted to ask,
and then Tom.
I just want, oh, sorry, you said Bill first? Okay.
Bill, you're muted, I think. Okay, Tom, go ahead. Bill's muted. And...
Thank you, Your Worship. Claire, I just wanted a quick question here. I think 3 years is unreasonable, but how about your neighbors that are close by you and they are close by to the person with the generator? Have they complained at all?
Yes, the immediate neighbor, the woman who's in between our cottage and their house, she has also issued a formal complaint, and she can't really go outside. She doesn't want to go outside because of the generator noise.
Okay, thank you, Claire.
Okay. Now, Bill?
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. I have a suggestion that the people that are going to continue to use generators does not have to run all of the time. What it does is that when it calls for power, that the generator would come up and would kick in and start running. But I would suggest that if they have no other means of enclosing this generator to cut down the noise, that they perhaps should look at investing in a generator that would be on supply on demand, not run 24/7. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Right.
Okay. Okay, maybe at this point we'll hear from Axel as to what he's experiencing on Frontenac Lake. Axel, do you want to turn your video on?
Yes. Oh, I don't have video. I have to call in. So.
Okay, that's fine. Go ahead.
Okay. So good afternoon, everybody. I have a cabin or cottage, 1,000 square foot, that I built on Frontenac Lake about 15 years ago. And that lake is a total society except for the west side. There's 2 cottages on the west side that have power. Everyone else on the north, south, and east have no electricity at all. It's about a 100-acre lake. And when we built the place, as I explained earlier, the bylaw officer did come out to us and explain to us we were only able to run our generator between 10 and 4, which we did. However, we did contact Hydro at one point and asked them to give us a price to bring Hydro into our area, and the quote that we got back was $292,000. So that's out of the question. So anyway, now that we have our cabin built, we run our generator about an hour and a half in the morning, an hour and a half at night to heat water and have a shower. Other than that, that's it. The problem is, it's not us. Everyone on our side of the lake kind of understands that we are all off grid. Some of us have some solar, some of us don't. But we all kind of try to live and let the other neighbors have some peace, because the generator noises are over 130 to 150 decibel, depending on the type of generator you have. I sent over a chart yesterday. And our one neighbor is exactly the same as the young lady that was talking earlier. Runs his generator from 7 a.m. till 11 o'clock at night, nonstop. And it's running at about 150 to 160 decibels. And they are about 150 feet away from my property. So not only do we get vibration from the generator all the time, the noise is absolutely intrusive, where we have no peace and quiet at all, ever. So we drive 4 hours to come up there to get some rest and relaxation. I work in downtown Toronto, and we try to come up there. My wife and kids go up for a holiday. They never really get a holiday because the noise is constantly going all the time. In fact, the noise is so loud and so bad. It's like a chainsaw about 40 feet away from you running constantly, that I've contacted the neighbor, the mayor several times, and the mayor can actually hear it at her house. And she's about 6 kilometers away. So this has been going on for about 6 years. My neighbor's property has been turned over about 3 times. Every person before that has kind of followed everybody else on the lake. Like I said, we all try to live within our means, sort of deal. We try to minimize the generator usage as much as possible to keep everybody happy. Unfortunately, we need to have something done. We have tried to sell our property. We've had 2 realtors come in, and they've basically told us, look, until you get this guy under control, you're not selling this property at all. So here we are, we're stuck with a house on a lake that we can't do anything with. We can't go to bed if we're tired at 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night. I'm in my late 50s because the generator is running all the time. So we need some help here. Just like the other young lady, this is getting to a point where it's absolutely ridiculous. So like I said, I've sent over a chart. I've sent over some changes on some of your bylaws there as well. Whereas I see the time limit is no good, running from 7 till 9 o'clock at night. This gentleman runs it longer than that already. So, I mean, I'm proposing 4 hours. And with the other lady was talking about solar. The solar can be done. In fact, a generator, what our neighbor runs, and probably the young lady that was speaking earlier, requires $20 of fuel a day to run. So it's pretty simple math. After 7 days, you're using $140. After a month, you're using more. Within less than a year, you can buy enough solar to run your whole house. And I know this for a fact because I work in the electrical industry, and I can tell you right down to the penny how much it costs to do this. So I think a change has to be made. Do I think that generators have to run or should be used as a backup? For sure. One of your bylaws, or you're asking about, if there's a storm, absolutely, it's life and limb. The power could be out in our area, in your areas, for 3 or 4 or 5 days with the amount of snow that we get. Should a generator run at that time? Yes, for sure. Non-stop if required? Yes, but everyone's under the different understanding. They're trying to keep their houses warm, their food from thawing, all that sort of stuff. We're talking about out in the country where somebody has the ability, like the other lady, to bring power in, and it's not very much to hook up power, or to go solar, or actually, one of the proposals I made was have the gentleman build an insulated shed that's inspected by the building permit or by the building inspector, have him pull out a permit so the inspector can come out. I put down $100. I mean, whatever it costs, if it's more, it's more. But there's lots of ideas and there's lots of building codes out there that actually explain how to do this with proper ventilation so the generators don't burn up. And once they're insulated and drywalled and properly ventilated, anyone can run their generator 24/7 and you'll barely hear it. So like I said, everyone on the council and Madam Mayor, I think you guys have to take a good look at this because the noise factors are getting to be ridiculous. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think that's a good suggestion that some kind of a sealed box be looked at. I guess the important thing is this is a draft bylaw. There are things in here that we need to tweak, and that's why we brought it at this point, so we can hear what both communities are saying. And let's face it, this happens in areas where it's more than 1 or 2 people in close proximity. If your closest neighbor is a half a mile down the road, it's not an issue. But certainly in a built-up area where it's a house or 2 houses over from you, 150 feet, would drive you crazy to hear that all the time. So we certainly understand what you're saying, and I think we will come up with a good bylaw that's enforceable when we get finished with this process, even if it takes us another couple of meetings to get things down the way we want it. Council, any questions or comments from anyone? Cindy, can we take the presentation down now? There we go. Okay, any questions or comments from anyone? Just raise your hand.
Thank you, Worship. I sent a number of comments with regards to the bylaw to Cindy already, so I'm not going to belabor anybody with them. There was almost a full page of suggestions and comments, and one of them is to do with a decibel limit on noise. So I'll leave it at.
Good. Anyone else? Okay, so to Claire and Axel, stay tuned. We're going to do some fine tuning, and we should probably have it come forward to our next meeting. Again, if it's not the way we want it, we can make more changes to it before we pass it. Once we pass this, we want it and need it to be enforceable.
Okay, thank you very much.
And also, Madam Mayor, I have also, this draft has went to our bylaw enforcement officer to review as well. So she had a few comments, but generally she thought it looked good. So we'll do some tweaking for it for sure.
Definitely, I think we need to look at the hours of operation. Why it needs to run from 7 in the morning till 11 at night is just not feasible in my estimation. But anyway, we'll let staff take another stab at it and we'll bring it back to the next meeting. Any other questions or comments?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, go ahead,
Sorry,
Victor.
if I can interject, it's Axel again, sorry.
Oh, sorry, Axel.
Sorry, yeah, if you need any more information, I'd be more than willing to sit in and help if on any other meetings. And also I've offered to, I know we have spoken before and you don't have a decibel meter in your possession. I'd be more than willing to buy one for the township and just give me a tax deduction, whatever, and I'll even get you two. That's fine with me. As long as it helps other people in the situation, I'd be more than happy to help.
Actually, it would be our bylaw enforcement officer that would need it. We contract that job out. So we would check with her, but I wouldn't expect you to buy a private business one of those. Maybe we have one just for backup if we needed it. Anyway, thank you for that generous offer. Okay, and feel free to join into our next meetings to hear the discussions. You can always contact us and we can send you the information to get in on the meeting. You don't have to be doing a presentation to hear the discussions. And we will send you the draft bylaws as they come forward. Okay, so you've heard the motion. All those in favor of the motion? Is there anyone opposed? Motion's carried. So our first draft is accepted and we're going to move forward from here. And thank you both for making your presentations today.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we've moved the agenda a little bit. We're going back up to committees. I have a motion moved by Sherry Wan, seconded by Bill McDonald, that council received the District 3 OSO Recreation Committee minutes from its meeting held September 1st, 2020 for information. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Tom Dewey, seconded by Cindy Kelsey, that council received the Eastern Ontario Trails Alliance minutes from its meeting held August 13th, 2020 for information. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. I just want to mention on the previous motion about the OSO minutes, and Sherry, maybe you'd like to take just a second to talk about the rally that's proposed and the information you've received about how to be safe with COVID.
Yes, Madam Mayor. I actually noticed that Bill Bowick has joined the meeting, and Bill has been a huge part and has spearheaded this event. I wonder if it's okay to pass it over to Bill?
I think with council's approval, we can do that. Bill, you're muted. We just need you to unmute and tell us how the rally is going to be done safely. If you hold your space bar down, Bill, there. Okay.
Am I okay now?
We can hear you.
Yes. Yes. There are a few things that we can do. I talked to the enforcement people at the health unit in Kingston today, and they respected Dr. Moore's opinion on the safety of the thing, but they also said there's a legislative enforcement issue that they have to deal with, and the problem is getting more than 100 people in the same event. So one of the things I'm looking at right now is breaking this up into 4 separate events. There in fact we did in fact plan 2 ATV rallies and 2 car and truck rallies on different routes and not overlapping. So we can manage it that way. I think that the queuing to get into the event and out of it again, I think that that can be handled all right without obstructing the social distancing. So I think we can do it. It's just logistics.
Excellent. Okay, we're trusting that you will do it and do it safely.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the update. Okay, let's move on. We have a motion by Bill McDonald and seconded by Tom Dewey that council received the Eastern Ontario Regional Network's July 2020 update from the Board of Directors for information. Bill.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor, I would like just to congratulate our mayor for being re-elected as chair of this organization. It's always nice to have somebody local. Thank you.
Vice Chair.
The Vice Chair, Bill.
Not the chair.
I was going to congratulate her too, Bill. Congratulations, friend, on being Vice Chair.
Okay. Thank you, guys. It's an amazing organization, and we are going to see the fruits of the labor down the road. And we're also working on trying to get the feds and the province to take a look at how to improve broadband into the next generation and not just today and then it's outdated in another year. So we're still working on that. Okay, all those in favor? Motion's carried. We have a motion.
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
I don't think I'm on mute anymore, and I don't know how to get, I don't want to be obstructing the meeting.
Okay, down at the bottom, left-hand side, you should see a little, okay, you got it. You got it. All right, moved by Victor Hayes, seconded by Brent Cameron, that council received the Rural Frontenac Community Services Youth Program update as prepared by Sarah McCullough for information, and that council continued to support the youth program and include $15,500 in the 2021 budget. Any discussion? It's amazing what does get done with the youth of the area. Sherry, you would see that from school, but most of us don't see the youth in the community. And Nikki, you would as well, yes. And you would see the little ones before their youth.
Madam Mayor, is Victor still on?
Yes, I'm still here.
Oh, because you're not on the side here where it says people.
Yeah, no, my setup here is crazy. I can't even mute, so
Okay.
I don't know what's going on.
I just thought if you were on the resolution that you should be here.
Yes, that is true.
I am here. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Bill, do you have a question or are you just wanting to vote?
No, I'm not doing it. Just ask a question. What was the number that you quoted in regard to what we were supporting this program to?
$15,500.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify.
We have another years.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Okay, motion moved by Nikki Gowdy, seconded by Owen Burke. Whereas the full agenda package for Quinte Conservation Authority is quite lengthy and is not included in totality, but is available upon request from the clerk's office. Now therefore be it resolved that council receive for information the agenda for the QCA board meeting September 17th, 2020 and draft minutes from June 18th, 2020 for information. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Yes. Yes, okay. Yeah, okay. All right. We have a motion moved by Bill McDonald, seconded by Tom Dewey. Whereas the township has received a copy of the Town of Smithfield's resolution supporting public health guidelines dated August 12, 2020. And whereas the Council of Central Frontenac Township recognizes the health and economic impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic on its residents. And whereas Council supports completely the public health initiatives taken by the Province of Ontario and the Kingston, Frontenac, Lennox and Addington Public Health in order to curb the spread of this virus in our region. And whereas Council wishes to send a strong message to its residents and visitors that it encourages cooperation and compliance with all public health initiatives, including wearing of masks, respecting social distancing, limiting social gatherings, and through hand hygiene. Now therefore be it resolved that the Township of Central Frontenac support the resolution of Smith Falls in its condemnation of false narratives and actions designed to destroy confidence in the medical community and to extend its full support to its medical officer of health, Dr. Kieran Moore of the KFL&A Public Health, and applauds the KFL&A Public Health's continuous work to fight this pandemic and keep Central Frontenac residents safe and healthy. And further, that this resolution be distributed to all municipalities within the provincial riding of Lanark, Frontenac, Kingston, to Dr. Kieran Moore, and to our local MPP, Randy Hillier. Any discussion? Bill?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Two things. I think the motion is very well written, and I think it's probably more important now than ever since we're starting to enter into the second wave of this COVID infection. But what I would like to see added is that we would send a copy of this to the Premier and also to the Minister of Health, Christine Elliott. If I could add that to that motion. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Bill, Tom, are you in agreement with that? You've seconded the motion. Okay, so, and to the Premier and Christine Elliott. Okay, that's been added. I just want to add that we, the municipal partners, so all of the mayors and reeves of the county, CEOs, we meet every Monday with Dr. Moore, and he has been excellent, and he does not hesitate to make the tough decisions to shut things down if that needs be. So I have every confidence in him. Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Motion's carried. All right. I have a motion moved by Bill McDonald, seconded by Victor Hayes, that council received correspondence from Allison Robinson and Wayne Robinson regarding the Lions Monument, and further that the monument be removed from Fossey Memorial Park to the area of the Railway Museum next to their existing Lions bench. Discussion. Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. All right. I have a motion moved by Elwin Burke, seconded by Victor Hayes, that council receive the following correspondence for information, and it's letters 1 to 7 that were in your agenda. Any questions or comments? Bill?
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. I'm just wondering if we should have a response or agree with the municipality tweet in regard to the Cannabis Act and how in some cases it's overriding the local zoning and official plan that we're planning. I don't know. I'd just like to get an opinion from other members if they have the same feeling. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Maybe we need staff to do a little research about that first.
Because the last that I know, we can certainly double check, is that we can't make them under, there's certain things under the bylaw that they have to like being 100 or 150 feet from a school, things like that. But they don't have to comply to our zoning bylaw.
Well, follow up, Madam Mayor. I'm just wondering if that's what the issue with the town is, that they're feeling frustrated in the fact that they've gone through an official plan and zoning, and all of a sudden there's actions happening that don't seem to be in cooperation with those plans.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Okay. Well, and I think there could be bigger fish to fry with the whole cannabis deal down the road if you start looking at plants and processing things. Yeah. Okay. No other questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. Okay. I have a motion moved by Brent Cameron, seconded by Nikki Gowdy, whereas council passed resolution 185-2019 approving the recommendation to stop up and close and convey part of a road allowance to Janet McKay and to pass a bylaw later at a meeting. Now, therefore, be it resolved that bylaw 2020-45 being a bylaw to permanently close, declare surplus, and sell part of a highway, being read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 22nd day of September 2020. Why do we call it a highway instead of a road allowance? Oh, is it? Okay. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Okay. Motion moved by Nikki Gowdy, seconded by Brent Cameron, that bylaw 2020-46, being a bylaw to permit certain off-road vehicles on all municipal roads, be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed this 22nd day of September 2020. That was the bylaw we discussed earlier. All those in favor? Carried. Okay. There's no public meetings. No notice of motions. Any giving of notice of motions?
No.
Any new or other business?
None.
Okay. I have a motion to go into close. It's moved by Bill McDonald and seconded by Sherry Wan. That council go into closed session for the following reasons. Number one, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, pursuant to section 239(2)B. Two, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board pursuant to section 239(2)C, lease of real property. Any discussion? All those in favor? And before you leave, Cindy sent out the email for the closed session to come back in. So we'll go into close and then we have to come back into open council to pass our adjournment motion. So we will see everyone in closed session. For the public, closed session, unless there's a report, it will be just doing the adjournment motion. But if you care to come back in, please do. We probably won't be any more than 10 minutes in closed, and then we'll be coming back to the open session. Cindy, do they have to go out of the meeting or can they stay in this meeting and we can come back in?
No, it has to be a separate meeting that I set up. So if anyone does want to come back into open session after a closed session, I'll need to send the invite because it's a different one. So if you can email me, I will include you in the email.
Okay.
Invite.
All right, great. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Take us back.